We're working very closely with their tribal council, SDRDC, and they're providing other support that's needed.
Tonight, wildfires across Western Canada, too close for comfort, have communities scrambling to help each other out.
Gunshots day and night. This has gotten a little bit too much now for our community. It has to stop.
Kanesatake disbanded their police force years ago. Now they want them back. And demonstrations against pipelines begin to flare up again in the northern United States. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Out of control wildfires continue to sweep across the prairies in northern Ontario, forcing people to evacuate their homes and communities. In Manitoba, First Nation communities are being evacuated due to the fires and the smoke. With more, here's Daryl Stranger.
4 First Nations from eastern Manitoba are being evacuated due to wildfires and smoke. Now, more than 1,000 people from Pungassi, Barons River, Bloodvein, and Little Grand Rapids First Nations are being evacuated to Winnipeg and Brandon. Now, most of those evacuations are happening through smaller planes. The Canadian Red Cross is working with the federal government to provide the resources the communities need.
We provide lodging, provide food, hygiene equipment, or hygiene kits they might need, other personal supplies. We're working very closely with their tribal council, SDRDC, and they're providing other support that's needed. We also have our safety and well-being team that helps with any mental health issues.
Now, this is a highway leading to Bloodvein First Nation, and you can see just through these photos how close the fire truly is to the community. According to the Manitoba government, there are 130 current active fires in the province, 12 of them being out of control. Now, a special air quality statement has been issued for much of the province due to the smoke. And even just standing here, you can feel how much cooler it is outside compared to even a few days ago. Now, to date, there have been 300 fires recorded in the province, and that number is sure to rise.
We know disasters can happen any time of the year. I mean, we had massive storm at Thanksgiving, and we've had floods in March. We know they can happen any time of the year, and our team is always ready. We know that, yes, this is fire season, and we're prepared for it.
That's your update on the fires here in Manitoba. With more, we go to Saskatchewan and Priscilla Wolf. Priscilla.
Thanks, Daryl. The situation here in Saskatchewan is very similar. There are currently 171 fires in the province, and 23 of those are not contained. Because of fires and smoke, 6 communities in the north and north central have been evacuated. Buffalo River Dene Nation, Peter Ballantine Cree Nation, Grandmother's Bay, Red Earth, Shoal Lake, and Pakwa. Evacuees are currently being accommodated in Prince Albert, Saskatoon, and Regina. The fires have affected air quality in the south, causing smoke to blanket much of the province. An air quality alert has been issued for the north and east parts of the province for the next few days. It did rain over the weekend in the north, and the weather forecast says it will be cooling down, so that will help with the situation. Unfortunately, it's only mid-July, and fire season is not over yet.
Scary scenes there, and in British Columbia, a new and explosive wildfire in the interior has forced the evacuation of hundreds of homes. A local state of emergency has been declared due to a fast-moving wildfire burning north of Osoyoos. Around 260 homes are being evacuated as the 700-hectare fire burns out of control. An evacuation order has also been issued for the 3,000-hectare White Rock Lake fire burning between Kamloops and Vernon. First Nations leaders are joining the growing calls for the province to declare a state of emergency.
We're getting a lot of grandiose statements of solidarity and support from the Prime Minister and the Premier, but that's no replacement for fire trucks and firefighting equipment.
Well, due to all these fires, the air across practically all of Western and parts of Central Canada will be an issue once again as wildfire smoke chokes the sky. Environment Canada has issued dozens of air quality and smog advisories from BC to Quebec and as far north as the Northwest Territories. The greatest concern is for those who have underlying health conditions, as well as children and the elderly. People with asthma, for example, may experience symptoms such as increased coughing, throat irritation, headaches, or shortness of breath. Environment Canada advises limiting the amount of time being spent outside. In other news, another BC First Nation will wade into the dangerous waters of LNG exports in northwestern British Columbia. The Nisga'a Nation will have a proposal to build a $10 billion export facility, complete with pipeline ready to go. Rob Smith talked with the Nisga's president to ask why court is possible controversy.
The $10 billion floating terminal would be built on Nisga'a territory. The government admits there is still a long road ahead before construction can begin.
The Nisga'a Nation has been actively pursuing LNG development since 2014. We saw it as very important for our economic aspirations. We're looking at a project that will support our vision for not only self-determination and the opportunity to develop a net zero LNG facility on our land, because the Nisga'a Nation has been very concerned about the ever-changing climate.
With climate change now a reality, the Nisga'a recognize the need for mitigation of damage to the environment, but can't pass up what promises to be a lucrative deal.
It's that the total direct and the indirect economic impact of the project across natural gas development, the infrastructure, and the LNG processing facilities is in the range of $55 billion over 30 years.
The business of LNG in this part of the country is tricky. There have been nearly 20 proposals, with only one in construction. Nisga'a neighbors have proven opposition to LNG can be fierce. Both Wet'suwet'en and Tsimshian people opposed to mega projects in their traditional lands put their bodies on the line, sometimes facing violent arrests.
There will, of course, be some controversy. That's a given. But at the same time, the Nisga'a Nation will be pursuing engagement with other First Nations and groups along the route.
The environmental assessment is the next step. Construction could begin in 2024. Rob Smith, APTN National News, Vancouver.
7 water protectors, including internationally renowned activist Winona LaDuke, were arrested yesterday at Shell River in Minnesota for holding a peaceful prayer in opposition of the construction of the biggest tar sands pipeline to date. Indigenous environmental group Honor the Earth says the pipeline, more commonly known as Line 3, will cross underneath the Shell River in 5 places and severely damage the aquatic environment. They also argue its construction violates Anishinaabe treaty rights. Over 500 people have been arrested for expressing opposition to the pipeline. Well, we'd like to hear what you think about the ongoing opposition to Enbridge's Line 3 pipeline south of the Medicine Line. It's mostly built here on the north. Here's how to continue that conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca or leave a comment on our website. That's at aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. The BC government announced the appointment of 2 First Nations liaisons today to help communities search for graves at the 18 former residential schools in the province. Charlene Bello and Lydia Sweetsum were announced at a press conference today, and the communities can now access the $12 million in funding announced in late June. Kamloops First Nation first announced they had found 215 unmarked graves in May 2021. That led to several more revelations in the months that followed, including 751 graves at Cowessess First Nation's former Maryville residential school in Saskatchewan. Former chief of the Iktemik First Nation, Charlene Bello, says she looks forward to closure for her own family.
My own great-grandfather committed suicide at St. Joseph's Mission Residential School. They buried him there without telling our family. This was during a period of time when flogging was at its worst. They strung our children on poles and lashed them until they passed out.
The National Indian Residential School Crisis Line is available for survivors and others who might need support. That number is 1-866-925-4419. While COVID-19 cases are on the wane in Nunavut, life is returning to normal, but that comes with some major challenges. That story and more still to come. Welcome back to Nunavut now, where the territory is celebrating a few milestones in their COVID-19 recovery, but is also facing a severe staffing challenge. Kent Jerskell joins us from Iqaluit. Kent, what can you tell us about how Nunavut is facing COVID?
The good news? Some Nunavummiut are going back to work. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Nunavut-based workers at Nunavut mines have been staying home and earning 75% of their regular pay to avoid a mine outbreak reaching a Nunavut community. Now, the Baffinland iron ore mine near Pond Inlet, Nunavut, has announced that their outbreak is over, and they're beginning to bring Nunavut staff back. Another positive? It's been 28 days since the last positive case of COVID-19 in Iqaluit has recovered, which means the outbreak is officially over. Nunavut's chief public health officer put out a statement saying that despite the outbreak being over, the current restrictions will remain in place for at least another 2 weeks. If that time passes and Iqaluit's still COVID-free, well, things could change then. What remains a huge concern to Nunavut is a nursing shortage that has closed some of the health centers in the territory. Grise Fiord and Resolute will see their health centers close in mid-August with no announced date to reopen. 6 other communities will see temporary closures over the summer. Now, we asked the Nunavut Health Department to come on APTN National News to explain this nursing crisis. They refused. They offered us an assistant deputy minister over the phone. I asked why. We still don't have a response. Back to you in Winnipeg.
Definitely a story to keep an eye on. Thanks, Kent. Kanesatake says it's coming to the table with the province of Quebec to talk shop about cops. The Mohawk Territory northeast of Montreal has been without its own police force for 17 years. But they say crime is rising and provincial police are slow to respond. But is homegrown policing the way to go? Lindsay Richardson takes a look.
Take a dip in the archives, and there's hard proof of strain between Kanesatake Mohawks and Quebec's provincial police officers going back to 1990. But from the late 90s to the early 2000s, the homegrown Kanesatake Mohawk Police Service was rocked by allegations of fraud, firings, and shootouts. The former Grand Chief lost his home to arson and was threatened for ordering police raids on his community's cigarette shops.
I'm coming after you, I'm coming after your family, there's going to be war. I'm heavily armed, I'm dug in, and try to come and get me.
The force disbanded 17 years ago, but there's been little improvement to law and order on the SQ's watch.
Possession of drug and alcohol, 0. Production of drugs, 0. Really? This is a joke.
In 2021, Kanesatake's Grand Chief seized fires everywhere, literally.
14 arsons, 9 attempts, constant racing throughout the community, gunshots day and night. This has gotten a little bit too much now for our community. It has to stop.
Simon says the last straw was the SQ's failure to intervene when an area pot shop held a rager, hundreds strong.
They were supposed to set up roadblocks at 3 areas here, the access roads into Kanesatake. They only set up 1, and that was about a little after 10 p.m. No tickets were given, no arrests, nothing. These people came here, they created havoc in our community and were allowed to leave without incident.
Then things intensified. On Canada Day, an alleged Hells Angels member was murdered within community limits. So Simon went up the ranks to Quebec's Ministries of Indigenous Affairs and Public Security, urging them to sign a new policing agreement with Kanesatake and put more boots on the ground.
We learned from our mistakes that we made in the past. We're not going to repeat them, but the community does need a service that will protect everyone equally.
The plan is an ambitious one. Some call it unrealistic.
But you can't believe that tomorrow I have a magic wand and I bring in a police force, that those things will mysteriously stop. There's a root cause to all the problems that are happening, and policing is not necessarily the solution to that.
Jeremy Tomlinson grew up in Kanesatake and recently retired from the RCMP. Working as a Ganyagahaga man in an outside police force, Tomlinson filed numerous harassment and toxic workplace complaints. So can a non-Mohawk police force really function on Mohawk territory?
This is a very loaded question, because if I look at it in terms of purely operational policing, I mean, anybody can police any community. Now, if we look at it as in the terms of effective service delivery, then there's a lot of other things we need to look at, other factors, you know, culturally sensitive service delivery. Are your employees able to connect with the community which they're serving? So these are all things that you have to look at in offering a community policing service.
11 of Quebec's Indigenous communities are currently served by the SQ. Kanesatake isn't the only one asking for personalized policing. The Anishinaabe First Nation of Long Point is calling out the SQ for dragging their feet on a recent emergency call, leaving citizens to disarm an armed man themselves.
Ben, c'est des gens là, qui sont pas formés pour ça. Là. C'est des gens que, ils ont mis leur propre vie en danger là, en agissant de la sorte.
However, experts say recruitment is a huge challenge. The Viens Commission report, inspired by the relationship between First Nations and police services, says Indigenous forces can't be created unless an agreement is reached among the communities, the federal government, and the provincial government. There are other factors too: lack of experience, small hiring pool, low operating budget. And as a kicker, young Indigenous people are not interested in the police profession.
Is a traditional model of policing even right for our people? Because if you look at us traditionally, pre-contact and even post-contact, I'd say just even outside the last century and a half maybe, policing was not a concept at all amongst our people.
Simon promises consultation first and says police services will be independent from council. In his view, bringing back Mohawk cops is the only viable solution.
Every creature on this planet has a right to defend itself and to protect itself. And a policing service here, like I said, it's not an oppressive tool. It's one that will protect and help us develop. It's the main pillar of all development.
Quebec's Minister of Public Security has confirmed that discussions are ongoing, but has also described them as complex. Until then, the community will have to make do and hope that history ceases to repeat. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Kanesatake, Mohawk Territory.
It was blast off for another billionaire today. That story and more still to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Dave Bodley caught a glimpse of the snowbirds flying over Nanaimo, British Columbia on Sunday morning. Great shot, Dave. Thank you for sharing. Good luck to anybody trying to get that out there today. If you want to share your photo and have it featured here on APTN National News, you can send it to share@aptn.ca along with location and a brief description. Tune in to see if we have your picture on the air. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 24 with showers in Halifax, 23 in rain for St. John's, 18 in Nain and Cartwright, 23 in the Grand River, 21 in Montreal with showers, 23 in Chibougamau. Sunny and 23 for Sault Ste. Marie. Sun's out in North Bay with a high of 22. 24 in Thunder Bay, 1 degree warmer in Sioux Lookout. 26 for Puckatawagan, Thompson, God's Lake, and Norway House. 24 with a chance of showers in Winnipeg, Smoky, and 23 in Brandon. Smoky and 26 for Regina and Estevan, 25 in Saskatoon. More smoke in the north, 25 for Uranium City and Stony Rapids. That smoke continues, of course, in northern Alberta, 24 for High Level and Fort McMurray. 31 in Medicine Hat, 23 in Edmonton. Showers and 22 for Vancouver, sunny and 29 in Kamloops. 11 with rain for Dease Lake, 19 in showers in Prince George. 28 with rain in Old Crow, 23 in Whitehorse. 25 in Yellowknife, 30 with showers for Norman Wells. 14 in Sax Harbor, 27 in Paulatuck. 17 in Arviette, 19 for Whale Cove and Baker Lake. +1 with rain in Resolute, 3 in Arctic Bay. Jeff Bezos is back on Earth after blasting into space earlier today, becoming the second billionaire in just over a week to ride his own spacecraft out of this world.
The most profound piece of it for me was looking out at the Earth and looking at the Earth's atmosphere. Every astronaut, everybody who's been up into space, they say this, that it changes them, and they look at it and they're kind of amazed and awestruck by the Earth and its beauty.
The Amazon founder was accompanied by a handpicked group made up of his brother, an 18-year-old from the Netherlands, and an 82-year-old aviation space pioneer. His last two are the youngest and oldest to ever fly in space. The Blue Origin New Shepard rocket reached an altitude of about 106 kilometers during the 10-minute flight. That's more than 16 kilometers higher than fellow billionaire Richard Branson's ride 9 days ago. 16 kilometers higher. What a way to spend $1 billion. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. Stick around, an encore presentation of Face to Face is up next. Our guest tonight is filmmaker and Shoal Lake 40 band counselor Angelina McLeod. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night.